Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andy Stott. I'm the Dean of Undergraduate Education, and I want to thank you all for coming to this event this evening. This event is sponsored by UB's undergraduate academies and represents the culmination of programming hosted by the Entrepreneurship Academy in its inaugural year. The Entrepreneurship Academy strives to harness students' entrepreneurial and innovative spirit. Students enjoy opportunities to connect with entrepreneurs and investors and learn how to start a new venture, from generating ideas to turning ideas into businesses. This lecture is an example of the offerings UB is dedicated to providing for its entrepreneurial students. And I'd like to congratulate the academic director of the Entrepreneurship Academy, Yong Lee, for a very successful first year, and of course thank Hadar Borden, the administrative director of the the undergraduate academies, including the Entrepreneurship Academy, for putting this event together and for all her faultless efforts throughout the year. So well done to both of you. Thank you very much. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the person who is responsible for bringing the undergraduate academies to UB, the president of the university, Satish K. Tripathi.
Good evening, and thank you for coming this evening. I'm delighted to be here for tonight's lecture. The entire UB community is proud of the success of our new Entrepreneurship Academy and everything else that it represents. Our undergraduate academies provide a transformative student experience that is a key element of our mission at UB. They create unique scholarly and real-world opportunities that greatly contribute to our institutional vision of excellence and to the academic success of our students. By creating more opportunities for students to work closely with our outstanding faculty, UB is successfully redefining what a first-year experience can be for a student at a large public research university. Through collaboration with faculty and staff across the disciplines, our students are identifying and nurturing their individual strengths. In the Entrepreneurship Academy, students are developing the leadership skills, experience, and knowledge to become thoughtful, globally minded business leaders of tomorrow. With experts, faculty advisement, experiential learning, and unique opportunities for interaction with local business leaders, our students are discovering what it takes to run an idea into a successful product. Time and time again, we have seen how faculty innovation and student achievements work together to have a major impact on our communities locally and globally. We have several recent examples of UB innovation and impact by our students. Campus Labs, the first winner of the Panache Entrepreneurial Award in 2001, was acquired last year for more than $40 million. A 2011 UB grad who co-founded a company that provides an innovative point-of-sale iPad app for the global restaurant industry was recently named to the Forbes All-Star Student Entrepreneurship list, one of the only 9 nationwide. By bringing these talents, expertise, and passion together in new ways and across traditional disciplines, we are greatly expanding the scope of what our faculty and students are able to achieve and greatly expanding their impact on the greater public good. Tonight's keynote speaker, Jordan Levy, is most certainly part of this proud tradition. As a distinguished UB alumnus, he has a truly impressive record of entrepreneurship success in Western New York, and he has an equally impressive commitment to enriching the communities around us through the fruits of that success. Jordy, we are honored to have you with us tonight, and we very much look forward to the insight you will share with the next generation of pioneering entrepreneurs. Congratulations to all of you for what you have accomplished this year. I wish you much continued success.
A week ago, the Entrepreneurship Academy co-sponsored UB's Elevator Pitch competition in cooperation with UB's Science, Technology, Transfer and Economic Outreach Office. Students had 90 seconds to pitch business ideas to a panel of industry judges. Please join me in viewing a short glimpse of the pitch competition.
This is a pitch. We call it an elevator pitch competition. Student teams have 90 seconds to present their idea for a business.
Ready, set, pitch.
What if you had the ability to instantly notify someone when you're speaking well about them?
Students are spending excessive time outside the classroom studying instead of learning effectively in the classroom.
There are thousands of apps out there that track your workout, but none of them get you on the machine you want when you want.
In the time I've spent talking to you, the whole nation has lost $140,000 US on voltage fluctuations.
We're looking to bet on the team, obviously. We're looking for entrepreneurs that is focused, that is dedicated, that you can sense the energy and enthusiasm coming in, because they're the ones that will have to be working the long hours to make this a success.
I'm just gonna use my passion, just charm them and let them know that I'm passionate about what I want to do and that they should invest their time and effort into me.
LLE will provide life coaching to college students and graduates in Western New York.
There has been a lot of research showing that entrepreneurship can help in terms of job creation, economic growth, and innovation. We hope that through these kind of efforts at UB and in the Western New York community, we will see more students getting engaged in entrepreneurial endeavors.
We're all freshmen, some of us in engineering, some of us in sciences, and we just created an idea that we thought would really benefit the public. We are developing a low-cost, rapid imaging scanner to quickly, safely, and efficiently assess a patient's conditions.
First, the prizes are nice. You have $1,000 you can win. And second, it's a good experience to get in the field of business and entrepreneurship.
It's great that UB is really increasing their focus on entrepreneurship now. They're important parts of the community, so helping to change the mindset and to be more entrepreneurial is very important. It's great that UB has really stepped up and started doing a lot more of that now.
The event today is the first phase of a student entrepreneur fellowship program at UB, and that's the ultimate goal. To engender an entrepreneurship culture here at the University of Buffalo and actually enable the students to start businesses.
So 10 student teams were recognized with cash prizes ranging from $300 to $1,000. Please join me as we recognize the first place winners in the pitch competition. So Christina Monakova, a freshman in biomedical engineering, come on up guys, whose proposed product is called iTry, Intuitive Triage Rapid Imager, and the team that helped her prepare for the competition included UB students, come over here, come over this side guys, UB students Sharon Lynn, who's a freshman in biomedical engineering, Alden Moy, a freshman in pharmacy, and Alexandra Van Hall, a freshman in chemistry. Also, we have Michael Radosta, a graduate student in learning and instruction, who partnered with fellow student Markel Vega, a freshman an intended business major, on his proposal for VMAS, V-M-A-S, the Virtual Medicine Assessment Simulator. Now, guys, I'm going to hand you your prize. There we go. And you'll notice that the university is saving money by giving them checks they couldn't possibly cash. So the entrepreneurial spirit at work there. So thank you very much, guys, and congratulations. If you'd like to return to Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce our speaker this evening. Jordan Levy currently serves as a managing partner at SoftBank Capital New York, and also as managing partner of Seed Capital Partners, an early-stage venture capital fund he co-founded in late 1999. SoftBank Capital is a venture capital firm specializing in digital media investments in early-stage companies located exclusively in New York State. In addition, he serves as co-managing partner of Z80 Labs, an incubator recently created in downtown Buffalo to kickstart the internet sector in Western New York. Prior to co-founding Seed Capital Partners, he was co-founder of Client Logic and was president, co-CEO, and co-chair of its predecessor companies, SoftBank Services Group and Upgrade Corporation of America, now known as CTEL Worldwide. He also co-founded QSR Brands, and which was recently sold, but was the largest franchisee of Subway restaurants in upstate New York, and also operated several other quick service restaurants. Previously, Jordan was Senior Vice President of Software Etc., now known as GameStop, a chain of 270 computer and video game stores throughout the US. He was Executive Vice President and co-founder of Software Distribution Services, now known as Ingram Micro. He started his career in Albany, New York, where he worked as an administrative assistant in the state New York Senate and was actively involved in dozens of political campaigns. In addition to Mr. Levy's business activities, he has been chairman of the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, on the advisory board for the NYC Seed, a trustee of the University of Buffalo Foundation, among many other prominent positions. Mr. Levy was recently honored as a Business Executive of the Year 2010 by the Business School at Canisius College and was recognized as 2008 Citizen of the Year by the Buffalo News. He has received the United States Small Business Administration Entrepreneurial Success Award, the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and the Distinguished Alumni Award from the University of Buffalo Alumni Association. It's a very long and storied set of very prestigious awards and recognitions he's received. And as a graduate of the University of Buffalo, we're very proud to have him here and to say that he still lives in our fine town. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Mr. Jordan Levy.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I'm not a professional speaker, so I'm going to do the best I can to try to entertain you and maybe a little bit of inspiring some of you to do some things that you're not doing and to what you're thinking about. I'm going to sort of refer to my notes. I'd certainly like to thank the president, my dear friend Satish, and the provost, and of course Young, for inviting me here in the university that is so near and dear to my heart. I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff here today. I'm going to bring up my stopwatch so I make sure that I keep you here and let you get home to whatever you need to do. And I guess exams are coming to study. But I believe for a long time, and I still believe this, and I'm going to talk about some other things, the single greatest resource, without question, I'm going to say it again, the single greatest resource that this city and this community has is the University of Buffalo. The single most important catalyst for the rebirth of Western New York, long-term, is this university. There's other fine universities in Western New York. As a matter of fact, within an hour and a half of Buffalo, there's 65 universities with some 217,000 kids in college right now, within a couple hours of Buffalo. There's all kinds of things happening here, which we'll talk about. But this campus and this university is our hope. It is our future. It needs to be great. We have a great president. He's putting an extraordinary team together of academic professionals that will change the landscape. And I tell you right now, this is what it's all about. And you're at a great place with a great future. It would obviously, before we start, obviously need to just take a moment and pray for those people in Boston that unfortunately this tragedy that took place on Monday, 3 people have died, more than 150 are injured. It's a horrible thing in a horrible world, and I don't understand it. I never will. But I think it's important we take a moment and just pray for the health and welfare of those poor people that have been injured and for those people that have unfortunately been murdered. Okay. I want to start off by asking everyone for a second. I'm going to ask you all to stand up. If you just stand up for a second. I've recently got into yoga. And one of the things we do at the beginning of yoga is we put our hands together and we put our hands close to our heart. We close our eyes and we clear our mind. I'm going to ask everyone to do that for just a second. I want you to clear your mind. I want you to think, no, only good thoughts. Take a second. Take a very deep breath. Let it out. Now you can sit down. Because we're going to change the way we've been thinking. We're not going to be thinking the way we've always thought for decades around Buffalo and Western New York. We're going to think things a little differently today. To start off with, I'm an internet entrepreneur. I focus my life on the internet. That's what we do. That's where we spend our time. That's where we invest our money. And that's where we've had whatever success we've had. I want to try to give you an indication of the power of the internet. I'm going to show you a little video. It's very simple. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Pay attention. If we can run the video, it would be great.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Nice and easy. Just head on out and whenever you're ready.
Oh, you ready to go ahead and, and drive? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, whoa.
That's all right.
Oh, a little more than I'm used to.
Yeah. Oh, it's got some power, so just get a feel for it. Okay. Okay, all right. Ease off just a little bit. Ease off.
So I was thinking a little more age on me, some wrinkles, a little dorky, maybe some facial hair. It was somebody that I can pull off a fun prank with. Let's go have some fun. My good friends at Pepsi Max have hooked us up with this cool cam. So these are the glasses cam to show you everything that I see.
How you doing?
Hello. I'm Mike.
Steve, nice to meet you, Mike. I saw you sort of gravitated towards the Camaro. You thinking about getting one?
Oh, no. This way too much car for me.
Well, it's a lot of power, but they designed it to be very safe.
I don't know if I can handle it. I've never driven anything like this before.
Well, I tell you what, I think a way to really make you feel comfortable would be to put you behind the wheel.
You're good.
What are you driving now?
Oh, just a minivan.
Oh, yeah.
What am I signing here?
You're not obligated. It's just a checkout sheet for a test drive. You're not obligated to anything. It's just so we know who's out. Let's go give it a drive.
I'm getting a little nervous.
No, I'll be right there beside you. There are your keys, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
You'll have to unlock it, Mike.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. What a car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we better buckle up.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Power door locks. Standard, of course. You are liable for any damages to the vehicle, so please stop the car, or at least slow down. Slow down. Slow down. You can't go through that gate, Mike. Stop! Stop! Stop!
Watch it! Watch out!
You're gonna wreck this car, and you're liable for it if you wreck it. Mike, stop the car! Stop the car right now! Get up here! Yeah. Oh my God! Just take us back. Oh, no,
you all right over there, Steve?
Oh, you're an idiot. I'm going to kill you. Oh, stop. Oh, God almighty. Oh, God damn.
Woo, yeah!
Who the f*** do you think you are?
What do you mean?
I'm calling the cops.
No, you don't understand. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. No, it's just a prank. We're just having fun. Look, this is a camera. Here's a camera. There's cameras. Look, it was all just fun. Look, I'm Jeff Gordon. Sorry, man. Sorry.
We'll do it again?
Yeah, let's do it again.
35 million people have viewed that video. Not $1 was spent promoting it. The video was made for less than $50,000, and it is now the single most popular video on the internet. It's extraordinary. Shows you the power of social media. And I just use that because I think it's just came out recently. I think it's just a phenomenal use of the internet and of how to try to capture people's imagination. So I thought it would be a cute way to start this presentation. So this is about the future. This is about thinking. This is about, remember, we cleared our mind. And I have this perspective that dreams that are never dreamed are never going to come true. If you don't think about them, if you don't dream, if you don't think about what could be as opposed to what might have been, you know, it's never going to happen. If Mark Zuckerberg didn't think about how to change social media, it wouldn't have happened. If you think about all these companies that have been invented, it's because somebody dreamed them and they made them happen. Now, we have this syndrome in Buffalo that we can't do it here. It's Buffalo. You got to leave. It can't happen. It's this old, stodgy city. And I want to tell you that that's not the case. Anybody know who this is? Anybody know who Dan Gilbert is? Well, I think you probably know who this company is. It's called Quicken Loans. It's one of the largest finance companies in the world. Does anybody know where Quicken Loans was started and it's headquartered? Detroit, Michigan. If you could start a company like Quicken Loans in Detroit, Michigan and become number 300 on the Forbes 400 as a result of doing it, we can do it in Buffalo. Does anybody know who this is? Michael Lukowitz, don't answer this. Fred DeLuca. Anybody know who Fred DeLuca is? He started a little chain called Subway, located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Not one of the great places in Connecticut. Bridgeport, it's a working class city. Subway, now an extraordinary business. Anybody know who this is? This man, only a few short years ago, started this product, 5 Hour Energy. I hope none of you are taking it, but I do all the time, by the way. I sit through meetings like this, I take 5 Hour Energy, otherwise I'll fall asleep. Where did he start this? Farmington Hills, Michigan. Next, Joe Canfer. Anybody know Joe Canfer? I don't think so. He started a company called Purell. You know where he started that? Akron, Ohio. Jack Taylor? Heard of this company? St. Louis, Missouri. Again, you wouldn't think of St. Louis, Missouri as a home of entrepreneurs. Anybody know this guy? I put him up because you probably know his partner. They started a little company called BlackBerry, where they started in Waterloo, Ontario. And if you want to talk about our weather, let's talk about Waterloo. How about this guy? Somebody's got to know Andrew. He started a little company called Groupon. Where did he do it? In Chicago? Not a place that you'd think technology companies get started. If these people can do it, anybody can do it. If we can start companies here, and there's dozens more cases like these guys. There's dozens of these where people started businesses in places you'd never dream of. Anybody know who he is? Nobody? I know Satish does. His family started a little business in Buffalo, New York. It's called New Era Cap. Now is the premier cap company in the world. They have a few thousand employees, 700 million in sales. They're in the high fashion business. They are selling products at every level besides just sports. They are selling into the entertainment industry, they're selling into the sports industry, they're selling in the hospitality industry, and they're doing it out of Buffalo, New York. The point of this is if these guys can do it, if he can do it, we can make this happen in Buffalo. You have to decide you want to. You have to decide I'm following the dream. So I put up a list of companies here that are all technology companies, many of them I've been involved in, that all got started here in Buffalo, New York. Most of them remain here. They're all technology businesses, and almost every company there has had an exit, a significant exit that has meant a big difference to a lot of people. It's created wealth, it's created jobs, it's created opportunity. Now, this list isn't Silicon Valley, this list isn't New York City, this list isn't Boston, Massachusetts, and a few other places. But the point of this is, folks, this can happen. We can make a difference. We can build businesses here. All we have to do is decide that we're going to change our mindset. We're going to change the way we think, and we're going to go ahead and put our heads down and dream the dream. Now, sometimes it's better to be lucky than smart. And I will tell you, there's nothing wrong with luck. You know, one of the conversations I have with a lot of young people, they'll call me up and they'll say, can you call the president of the university and get me into UB? And sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. It sort of depends on how well their academics are. But a lot of kids will say, no, I don't want any help. I don't want your help. No, I'm going to have to do this on my own. And I'll say, well, why do you feel that way? Well, I want to accomplish this myself. I said, you know, the only thing that help will do for you is give you an opportunity. If you don't take advantage of it, it's not going to matter. You have to take advantage of it, but it's a tough place out there. It's tough. And I got to tell you something. I've been lucky. I've been fortunate. I will take advantage of every opportunity that's available to me. If I know somebody and I go on LinkedIn and find that I know somebody that knows somebody else, believe me, I will reach out to them in a New York second and ask them to help me get an appointment with so-and-so. I'll tell you a story about Microsoft. Many years ago, we had a business, and we were trying to do business with Microsoft, and we had a relationship with Microsoft that went back many, 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 many years. And there's a guy that I was trying to reach, and I was unable to. I called him for 6 months. He never turned my call. He was the head of worldwide operations. I just couldn't get anywhere with him. So I called one of my friends, and I said, you know, would you call Steve Ballmer and ask Steve if he would call Rick Devenuti to set up a meeting? And he said, well, why don't you just call Steve yourself? I said, well, I haven't spoken to Steve in a couple of years, and I don't know. He says, just call him. So I picked up the phone, I called Steve Ballmer, and he said, you know, Jordy, sure, of course. I'll send Rick a note and, you know, give him, you know, love to have you call him. So he sent that note. He didn't take my phone call. But I called him again, and Steve said to me, you know, he's a golfer, because he knew that I'm a golfer. He said, so, you know, maybe you figure out how to take him golfing. So I then called a friend of mine named Bobby Kotick. Bobby Kotick is the founder and CEO of Activision. I assume most of you know Activision. And Bobby started the business, and he was a student at the University of Michigan. And he picked up the phone, and he called me one day and had a connection to me from somebody I knew in New York. And he came to Buffalo, and he had a product at the time called Jane, which was an integrated package for the Apple computer. And Bobby came to see me, and he only got to see me because he's this 19-year-old kid that went to Michigan that I didn't know, but he got to see me because somebody that we knew mutually called me up and said, do me a favor. And I sat with Bobby, and I said, geez, I think you got something. And we became fast friends. Well, I don't have to tell you, he's singularly the most important and successful person in online and then gaming in the world today. And he's built an extraordinary business in Activision. And I sit here and talk about it all the time. Our relationship has gone on for 25 years, and it's only because somebody else asked me to see him, and that's the only reason I saw him, and that helped him to launch his career. So don't be afraid. Take advantage of it. Luck is everything. Let's talk about lucky. Anybody know who this guy is? His name is Sheldon Adelson. Sheldon Adelson went bankrupt 5 times. He started 7 businesses that didn't succeed until 1979 when he started a trade show business called Comdex. Today, Sheldon Adelson is the 15th wealthiest man in the world. He controls this is the Venetian in Vegas. He controls the Sands Corporation. And this man failed more than 6 times before he finally found the formula. And he'll tell you how he ended up in the trade show business was just dumb luck. Anybody hear of this company? You got a hand up? What? Rovio, what do they do? Angry Birds. Do you know that, has anybody heard of Meteor Shield? Anybody ever heard of Mole Trap? You know they had 57 games that failed, that no one ever heard of before they found Angry Birds. 57 failed games before they found a winner. But guess what? They weren't giving up. They had a commitment to deliver this, to make this happen, and they believed in what they were doing. Anybody ever hear of this company? Near and dear to my heart. You ever hear of this game? Hamster Battle? Probably not. You ever hear of this game? You ever hear of that game? Now, I'm going to tell you the story about luck. This was a company I was involved in. We created a product called Draw Something. 1 year ago right now, actually in January of 2012, we realized that we'd be out of money because we'd released 30 some odd games over the last few years and none of them worked. And so we decided that we were going to have to sell the business because no one was going to fund it. Out of funding. We were going to run out of money by April. Let's put the company up for sale. We had a release schedule of some games. So we'd say, let's go on with the release schedule, but don't spend any money on the launch of these games. Not a penny. So the CEO and I sat down and said, okay, we got to sell the company. That's the only option. Okay, let's go hire a banker. So we went and we called a bunch of bankers, and all of them turned us down because all of them said, you can't sell the business. No one's going to buy it. You guys have about $16 or $17 million invested. You know, the only thing that you would get here is you would get what we call an engineering acquisition, where they would only buy the business for the engineers. We call it acqui-hire. So we had 40 engineers in the company. Engineers, typical sell for about $100,000 an engineer. So maybe we'd get $4 million, less any debt and encumbrances we had, and so no banker wanted to take on the assignment. So I go and I say, okay, finally, I find the banker that I didn't know before. And I meet with him, and I said to him, you need to take on this assignment so that you do build a relationship with us and the other investors in this company. And he says, you know, Jordy, I can't succeed for it. I said, I'll tell you what, we'll pay you $500,000, take on the assignment. Now, bankers normally get, by the way, 5% of the sale. I said, we'll pay you $500,000, just go get it sold. And I said, I'll tell you what, you get over $35 million, and I'll give you 5%, additional 5% of everything over $35 million. I'll give you 5% of everything over $35 million in addition to the 500. He says, well, I'm only going to do this as a favor. I said, okay. We signed a contract on Thursday. On Saturday, we released Draw Something for the iOS device. Now, we were in the Facebook world. We were in social media. But we said, okay, let's release this game on iOS. So we released it in the Apple platform. The first day we didn't spend anything. We spent $300 buying some search words. $300 on Google. We released it on Saturday. On Sunday, we had 1 million players. On Monday, we had 2 million players. On Tuesday, we had 3 million players. On Wednesday, 4 million players. And just to move the needle, so we don't talk about it all day, in 50 days, we had 51 million people playing the game. We spent $300. We were going out of business. The banker went out, and we all of a sudden had every game company in the world trying to buy the company. I happen to know the CEO of Zynga very well, and I told the CEO of Zynga that he should buy the company, and we negotiated a deal and sold this business exactly 16 days after the release of the game. You remember what the price we were going to sell the business for, the acqui-hire? $4 million. We sold it for $209 million 16 days after the release of the game. It was a remarkable story. It was a remarkable ride. But I have to tell you something. The CEO is on the lecture circuit now. I mean, he's a famous guy. He goes out, he goes to rooms, and actually they fill the room, as opposed to me, when he goes and speaks, because he was the CEO of, you know, Draw Something. And he tells about this formula, about how this, I can tell you today, go buy lottery tickets, because that's all we did. We couldn't tell you why the game succeeded. We don't know. And frankly, at this point, we don't care. But the point is that we stuck with it. We released 30-some-odd games. We tried a retread. We tried something different. And just by dumb luck, we hit the lottery. And it happens all the time. It happens because you're lucky and you're smart and it works out. And that's just part of the message, is that stick with it, keep trying, keep figuring it out, and good things happen. Okay. This is one of the things that I kind of live my life by. Since I was in college, to try and not succeed is not failure. Failure is not to try. You know, a lot of people talk about doing things, they just don't do it. And that's the failure. You decide you want to do something, just go do it. It may fail. That's not really failing. I'll tell you a quick story. None of my stories are that quick, by the way. You didn't gather. I'm hiking in Aspen, Colorado last summer. And I'm on my way down the mountain, and I run into this nice-looking guy, well-built, good trim, the whole bit, walking with a nice step in his foot. I just walked 7 miles, and I'm like dying, and you know, the sweat is pouring all over me, and I can barely breathe because I'm at 9,000 feet, and I just hiked the mountain. And he's in great shape, and we start talking, and he says, where are you from? He says, well, I'm from Silicon Valley. And I said, Silicon Valley, really? What do you do there? He says, well, I'm a 4-time entrepreneur. And he says this with passion. A 4-time entrepreneur? I said, really? He says, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a venture capitalist. He says, well, from SoftBank. SoftBank? Oh, my God, you destroyed my second company. I said, oh, this is going to go over really well. He says, no, it was okay, no big deal. I said, well, tell me about it. He says, well, my first company, we raised about $26 million. It was a washout. Okay, and he's walking, the bounce gets even started. The second company is the one you guys screwed up, because I was in the middle of selling it to Yahoo. We owned 39% of Yahoo at the time. And you kiboshed the deal at the last minute, and so the deal fell apart, and my investors got 30 cents on the dollar. Really? Tell me about the third company. Well, the third company wasn't as bad. We raised about $25 million, and I got my investors back most of their money. I said, what do you know? He says, oh, I have another startup. I raised $8 million. Who'd you raise for? Oh, the same guys that invested in my other deals. And I'm thinking to myself, now this guy is a 3-time failure, and he's got a bounce in his step, and these guys keep coming back for more. Well, who are your investors? Oh, okay, great, I know these guys. I get down the mountain, and I just have to go and get on the phone. And I call them up, and I say, one guy saw Ray. Ray, I just was walking with this kid, Chris. Oh, wow, he's a superstar. I'm thinking to myself, he's a superstar. This guy's lost his investors' money in every deal he's done, and he's thought of in Silicon Valley as a superstar. Anybody know why he's thought of as a superstar in Silicon Valley? Because he keeps trying. That is what they celebrate. They celebrate the entrepreneur. They celebrate the fact that the guy is willing to take the risk, that he's got a dream, that he's got a strategy, that he's got a plan, and they keep writing checks. Why? Draw something. Eventually, he's going to hit it. Shelley Adelson, 6 failures. Rovio, 55-plus games. It didn't work. And they celebrate this guy. It's amazing to me. So here's the problem with Buffalo, and this is why we changed when we stood up at the beginning. Bruno's Pizzeria. When you drive and see that, what do you think of? Okay, I need somebody. What do you think of when you see Bruno's Pizza? Not the front row, not the professors. What do you think of when you see Bruno's Pizzeria? Yes? Okay, nice. Good, right? Right. You don't think that maybe that's the next Domino's, do you? We think there's a guy, what, do they need another pizza parlor? In Yiddish is a term called fakakta. We need another fakakta pizza parlor? We don't think maybe he's going to be Domino's. When you see another little sneaker store, what do you think of? You think of like just what we need. Do you think maybe that guy's the next Foot Locker? In Silicon Valley, that's the way they think. You go and drive by Roseanne's hair shop, and do you think to yourself, you know what, maybe that's going to be Supercuts in 5 years? The problem we have in this city, and it's not just Buffalo, it's lots of places, is we don't dream the dream. We look at the glass as half empty, never half full. I know Amy's, everybody likes Amy's, and it's a really wonderful little place. But when we see Amy's, we don't think of it that it could be the next Applebee's or the next Denny's. Whether you like Denny's or not isn't important. This is a business. This is about making something extraordinary. And we don't think that way. And that's the mentality that you guys have to start changing. You're young enough that you're not so stubborn like us. You can change and think differently. Think about what could be, not what was. When you drive down Elmwood Avenue, you see another pizza parlor, you say, that guy's nuts. We need another pizza place like we need a hole in our head. You don't say, maybe that's Tom Monahan. You don't look at the sub shop and say, maybe that's Fred DeLuca, because that's what they were. And that's what we have to celebrate. We don't celebrate entrepreneurs. We look at guys like Mark Zuckerberg and Sergey Brin as entrepreneurs. We don't look at the guy with the dry cleaner as an entrepreneur. We don't look at the immigrant that opened up a convenience store as an entrepreneur. They are. This country's made of entrepreneurs, and you got to think about these people following their dream. They came from another place. They all come to Buffalo or Lackawanna, of all places, and they go and they open up a little store because they're following their dream. You guys have a different level. You're educated. You're going to one of the finest academic universities in the country. You obviously have something going for you that maybe others didn't have. Use that to go and take it and do something like that at another level, because that's how it happens. Michael Dell is a great example, one of my least favorite people. I won't bore you with the story, but many years ago he was very nasty to me, and I'll never forget it, but it's not the important thing. Michael Dell started a computer company out of his dorm room at UT Austin. He was putting, it's called PCs Limited, he was assembling computers as people ordered them. He put ads in magazines. People would call, they would say, I want it. Those days you used the telephone, there was no internet. And they would call, and he would then make it so he had no cost of goods. Very interesting business model. It grew, and he stayed in Austin, and they tried to get him to move, and he wouldn't leave. The way I got to know Michael is I wanted to do, when we had our outsourcing services business, I said to Dell, we pitched Dell, we got Dell to agree to let us do call centers for them, because that's what our business was. And then I get a call from Michael, come and see me. In any case, what he ultimately said to me after he made me fly to Austin, Texas, only not to be there to see whether if he called me and asked me to jump, how high I would jump, and I would jump as high as he wanted for that contract. He eventually said to me, well, when are you opening up your call center in Austin? And I said, why would I open a call center in Austin? He says, because if you want my business, it's going to be in Austin, Texas. I don't care about Buffalo. I don't care about Las Vegas or Monterey, California, or wherever else we had stuff. You want to do business with me, it's going to be in Austin, because the only thing I care about is creating jobs here. Now, eventually he got too big to do everything in Austin. That was the mentality. That's what we need. And he put Austin back on the map. Yeah, IBM had a facility there. There was some other stuff going for it, including a great university. But we have a great university. We have some other things going for us. It takes one guy like Michael to grow a business and create 35,000 jobs in this city that grows, and with they have this denominator effect that every job that you create creates 3 more jobs. Think about that, 35,000 jobs times 3. That's over 100,000 jobs created in Austin. And it changed the culture and the landscape of that town. Now it's a great place. That's what we need. We need a break, and that break comes from the people in this room. It's not going to come from me anymore. I mean, it's going to come from you, and the energy and the vision and the passion to go and make things happen. Anybody ever say this? Does anybody raise your hand if you've ever said this? I hate to tell you, you're not doing a startup. Because if you're thinking about doing one, you're not going to do one. People that are going to do startups do them. They don't think about it. I live this all the time. You go to the Valley, you go to Boston, particularly go to New York, which is where I spend my time. People don't think about doing it, they do it. I can't begin to tell you how many people are quitting their jobs and starting companies. It's remarkable. Leaving Skadden Arps, leaving Goldman Sachs, leaving great companies and say, I'm doing a startup. I'm doing it. End of conversation. I'm not thinking about it. And the long and the short is most people don't want to go all in. We have this issue, Dan, who runs the incubator here in Buffalo, it's the 80 Labs for us. People come in and they want to keep their day jobs and come in at night. Forget it. I'm not interested. You're either all in or you're not in. And when you say this, you are not in. You are not doing a startup. You're kidding yourself. Maybe it makes you feel good. If you're going to do a startup, you do it. So let's talk about Buffalo. I have some strong opinions, if you couldn't gather, about what we need to do here in order to change the culture. Let me see how I'm on my time. I'm in pretty good shape. So I have some ideas about what we need to do in order to change this city. Most of them I've talked about, but let me give you some tangible ones about things, and this is for the president since he's got $1 billion that he's giving away. First thing we have to do is draw a line in the sand. I have to tell you, watching that little video at the beginning of these great young people, it gives me hope. It gets me excited. it really does make me feel like there's optimistic opportunities here and that people are going to do something. We did. We started businesses here. We made conscious decisions. You guys don't know who Mike Moritz is. He was one of the most famous venture capitalists in the world. He runs Sequoia Capital. Mike Moritz came to Ron Schreiber and I, my partner, when we started our last business, and he said, I want to fund it. I love your business. I'll write a check. I'll fund the whole thing myself. Great. Great, done. Let's go. Get the paperwork ready. He says, you know, by the way, you need to move to the Valley. And I said, well, I'm not moving to Zor Valley. I don't know what valley you're talking about. And he said, no, you got to move to Silicon Valley. I said, no, I'm not interested. Thank you anyways, Michael. It was very nice to meet you. We shook hands. We parted friends. I made a decision to stay here. That was a long time ago. We drew a line in the sand. I'm going to make Buffalo change. I'm going to do what I do here. I'm going to try to change people's lives. We were very lucky. Over a period of 10 years or something like that, we created about 4,000 jobs here in Western New York between Ingram Micro and then Upgrade Corporation. And we created jobs, and we were very proud of that. More than anything else, we're proud of it. I speak to a guy today, Gary Crosby. Gary's now the CEO of First Niagara Bank. Gary worked with us. He's one of our guys. I speak to him today. I'm so proud. We have a lot of people that we did that. If we would have left, they wouldn't have happened. Now, maybe somebody else would have taken the void, and God help you, I wish that would happen. But I decided to draw a line in the sand, and I'm asking you guys to do the same. No more. We're not leaving. We're doing it here. We're making it happen here. We're going to drive this economy, and we're going to change the way people think about Western New York. Second, we have to understand who we are and what we have. Okay, we're not Silicon Valley. We don't have Southern California weather. We don't have a plethora of venture capitalists. We don't have a lot of the infrastructure and things that other places have. But we have to understand what we do have. We have great universities, amazing education system in Western New York. Our schools are great, high schools, grammar schools, all that stuff, terrific. We got a great quality of life. We have a very good financial services industry. We have hospitals, and we have this life sciences initiative and opportunity. We've got to focus on the things we have, not what we don't have. You think we're going to attract Facebook to move here? It isn't going to happen. You'll disappoint yourself. Let's focus on our strengths. Let's understand what we have, and that's what we go and spend our time on. As I said a couple minutes ago, when we see that pizza parlor, we have to change the way we think. We can't think that that guy's an idiot. We have to say, wait a minute, I'm pulling over. I'm going to try his pizza. I know that I love bocce, and it's really where I want to go. But you know what? This guy's like, he's giving it a shot. It's like the new restaurant, the new dry cleaners, the new hairdresser. I got to give them a shot. I got to support them. I got to encourage them because they're taking that initiative. They're trying to do something different. And we need to celebrate them, we need to help them, and we need to promote them as best as we can. Listen, if the pizza sucks, it sucks. They'll go out of business unless some changes. But maybe they'll be smart enough to realize the pizza's not so good. Maybe that's why nobody comes. Maybe I should change the formula. And if I change the formula, maybe they start coming again. Because restarts work, by the way. In my world, there's a new term that everybody likes to call pivoting. I call it, I'm a football guy, I call it calling an audible, but it's the same thing. It happens in every business. Every successful business I've been involved in has had to call an audible. We sold a company last year called Buddy Media. Great, it was great. We started off as an advertising agency for Facebook. We were helping people run ads on Facebook, and we realized this isn't a business. It's a body shop, and body shops are not what we want to be. So we sort of made a pivot, and we decided to build software that would allow you to optimize what you're doing on Facebook. And all of a sudden, we built this company, and 3 years after we funded it, we sold it last year in May to Salesforce for $800 million. We started off as an agent. We pivoted. You had to, because we weren't going anywhere with what we are. And I would tell you about every company that I'm involved in and have been that's been successful and unsuccessful. And sometimes the unsuccessful ones were too stubborn to realize this isn't working. It's not working. The dogs are not eating the dog food. So we better make some changes before it's too late. We have to create this new culture. It's what we're doing here in the university. It's what we're trying to do with Z80 Labs and what Dan and his team are doing. We have to change. We have to stop the outflow. I'm a bad example. I have 2 kids. They grew up here, they both left. They both live in Manhattan, as a matter of fact. Now, one of them's in the fashion business. There's not much of a chance that she's going to come to Buffalo, and she's following her dream. There isn't the fashion industry here, and by the way, it's probably not going to get started here so fast, other than maybe New Era, and that's an example, and maybe we build off that eventually. The other one, he would live in Buffalo, but he wants to be in the internet business, and he wants to be in the world, and now he's working at BuzzFeed. I don't know, anybody know BuzzFeed? I hope you know BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed's another great company, killing it. By the way, so far haven't pivoted too much, but that's because the founder, this was the second deal, and he was the co-founder of Huffington Post. We used the technology for Huffington Post to start BuzzFeed. But I can't get him to come back yet, but I'm hoping one day that happens. We have to change, create a new culture here. Part of the way you create cultures is ecosystems. The idea that we're doing downtown is we're trying to bring everybody in the room together. It feeds off each other. There's an energy associated with it. We were just discussing it. People living down in the city. Satish was talking about a lot of the professors that he's bringing in are thinking about living in Buffalo. We have to create these microcosms. You go into New York and you see it. You just go south of 23rd Street. I said this to Mayor Bloomberg. I believe the average age of a New Yorker is now under 28 years old, south of 23rd Street. He says, well, I don't know if that's true, but it's probably not that far from true. And he said to me, and that's happening in Brooklyn too. They're creating these micro centers, and everybody you go to the coffee shop, and everybody's talking about their internet businesses, and it's infectious. We have to create this culture. I think we got to follow on this Snowbelt Alley theme that Kara Swisher from Silicon Alley, from Business Insider, wrote about Buffalo when she was here. Building on these ecosystems, these neighborhoods where people are together. These places that we have an incubator at the university. It's not really much of an incubator the way it should be, but it does what it's doing the best it can for now. But we got to create these places where you guys can come and you can be together and you can feed off the energy and you can talk about the victories and the defeats. And maybe I like what he's doing better than what she's doing, so I'm going to go work with him. But if you don't know they exist, it doesn't happen. And next, we have to go on the offensive. Enough of this. You guys didn't live through this. I don't know if anybody in the room remembers Johnny Carson. But, Johnny Carson was the single most destructive force in Buffalo's history. Johnny Carson would go on The Tonight Show, and he'd talk about the snow in Buffalo. And it was absolutely, it killed us. Now, we do our own and damage to ourselves, but enough. That line in the sand I talked about, it's enough. This is a great place. I'm on a call about 6 or 8 months ago, and I'm in Buffalo, and it had to be more than that because it was probably like in August. And so there's about 6 different parties on this conference call, and these guys are pitching me to invest in their business. And the one guy gets on the phone, oh, Buffalo, did it stop snowing yet? And I guess I'm at a university, so I'm going to have to edit my comment, but I basically told him in no uncertain terms what he could do with himself, and I hung up on the phone call. And I get a call from some of my guys, what are you doing, what are you doing? I said, I'm not going to take that insult. I said, frankly, fuck him, which is what I told him on the phone. I don't have to listen to this. You want my money? Don't insult me. This is where I choose to live. This is where I choose to raise my family. I love this place. You're not going to insult me. I'm tired of it. It's time for us to talk about what a great place it is. It's time for us to find ways to keep every one of you guys here in Buffalo, to keep you here so you don't think about leaving, so that you have the infrastructure to build your businesses, to follow that dream, to do whatever it is you want to do. And we can no longer sit still for that. I have one other thing that I think we need to do to change the culture. Now, a lot of people disagree with me. It's okay. I'm wrong most of the time anyways. I think we need a silver bullet personally. And I think we need a silver bullet for the psyche of this community. I know they don't pay for themselves, but getting one company to go here and build 1,500 real jobs because we paid for them. It's not sustainable, but it gives hope. If Google came here because we gave them $200 million to build a facility, people would say it's corporate welfare. I would say changing the culture. Because you know what? People say, well, if Google could be here, you know, maybe I could be here. I could stay here. I mean, they're hiring engineers. They got people. There's going to be all these people. There's all kinds of things. You pick your poison. I believe we need a silver bullet because we have to change the psychology. We have to change the way we think. And we have this $1 billion, and I have this discussion with Satish and Howard, and they don't agree with me. It's okay. But I think we need to do that because I think it will create momentum. And everything is about momentum. In everything you think about, when it's sports, you know, and it's life, and it's about your interactions with people, you know, it's about momentum. And I think we have to change it. And we do that by a big victory. And if we can get that big victory, we then have to build on it. We have to understand what we're doing. So I have this thing that I wanted to go to Sergey and say, okay, here's what we do. We will develop a program where we will train over 2 years at the University of Buffalo, 2,000 students. And we will train them in a curriculum, an engineering curriculum that follows exactly what we collectively put together. We will pay their tuition. You agree to hire them at the end of those 2 years because they've been trained by us on our nickel. And we'll build you a building to put them in. That to me is what I would do. And that to me would win, whether it be Facebook or Intel or Microsoft or Google or Oracle or whatever it is. And the idea is they come here, these kids get trained, they realize, geez, I can go to UB for free because I'm going to get this education. I get a job at Google, and maybe I do my 2 years, and I have to do a year because I got the free education. And now I can go and do my thing. I start my business. I go and do whatever I got to do, but now they've got good people, and so they keep hiring. And it feeds off. And that, to me, is what I would do in order to try to change the culture. One silver bullet. So it comes down to this, my friends. Failure is not an option. It's what I live by. I've lived by this my whole life. It's just not an option. We're going to succeed. It may take more time than you think. It may take more money than you think. It may take a lot of everything. But in the end, it is the only outcome. With that, I say thank you for listening. I would be more than happy to answer questions. There's a couple mics. If you don't have any, I won't be insulted. I hope that I said a few things that some of you will take to heart, that will resonate, that will make a difference in your lives. And if it does, then I'll be very proud that I was part of this tonight. But more than anything, I'm proud to be part of the University of Buffalo, and I thank you for having me. Anybody have any questions, comments, complaints? I'm better at answering questions than making speeches, so.
How you doing? So one of the questions I've had is when I was thinking about entrepreneur startup, you know, a lot of the people that would have invested in me are people that know me, people that care about me, and they wouldn't do it because, you know, they totally believe or understand my idea, but they do it because they believe in me. And what would rack me with guilt is the idea that, you know, I might take something that's valuable to them and, you know, and I fail. And I'm like thinking, how can I face them? And that was always been something that kind of kept me back when I tried looking at my immediate circle and thinking about moving forward. And I just wonder, you know, if you had any advice for that.
I do. Anybody know the greatest hitter in the history of baseball? Lifetime average. Anybody know who it is? Take a guess. Mickey Mantle, you're a New Yorker. It's Ty Cobb. You know what Ty Cobb's lifetime batting average was? Greatest hitter in the history of the game, 388. You know what that means? He made an out. More than 6 out of every 10 times he was at the plate. Greatest free field goal percentage in the history of the NBA. Michael Jordan. You know what his percentage was? 49%. Means he missed more than he made. No one bats 100. What anyone's going to care about, to be perfectly honest with you, is that you poured your heart and soul into it. I have lots of failures. I only talk about the victories, of course. But we probably have more losses than wins. The wins overcome the losses. That's the nature of the business. The only thing I ask is that people work their ass off. They put everything they had onto it. They left it on the field, and it didn't work. Well, that's just life. Nothing bats 100. And no one can complain. If you did everything you could do, you listened, you took advice, you did the pivot, you did the stuff you had to do, and it just didn't work out. What they'll look at you is say, you know, you were busy on the golf course every afternoon, probably not the case with you guys. But you know, you were busy doing other things, you were involved with this stuff, you had this relationship with the girl, and you were all crazy with that. I mean, you know, like, it's just, those are not excuses. The end of the game is that if you pour it all in, no one will ever complain. And it just comes with the territory. If we all batted 100, I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't need a job. I'd just start handing out checks and say, give me equity. It doesn't work that way. But give it all, and no one can ever complain. Yeah, sure. The only people, by the way, that are going to write those checks are friends and family, because they're the only ones that know you. Unless you have this vision and this idea that's so extraordinary, the only people are going to give it a shot. We have this discussion all the time. Guys come in, well, you know, I need some money. Well, get your friends and family to put up 25 grand. Well, I can't do that. Well, if they don't believe in you, that you can't find it, $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 a person, enough people that'll put something up to go and back your business, you expect me to do it? I don't know you. The people that know you aren't willing to do it, I'm not willing to do it either. It's very important to get friends and family. And it's very important to just put it all on the table. And if it doesn't work, you know what? Remember that guy, Chris, from Silicon Valley? Try it again, because it may not work the first time. I promise you, it probably won't. That's it. Boy, that's disappointing. Okay, stand up.
When people come to pitch to you, what are the most common mistakes that they make that right away you kind of say, no, this is definitely no? I mean, what are the things that you think that you don't say to them?
Well, if you couldn't gather, my problem is I say it to them. And that's, and that's not always the best thing. But I hate the people in my industry that want and say, oh, you know, we'll think about it, let's do some work, and then they call you back and say, well, you're not at the right stage. Well, this is part of my job, and part of my industry's job is to help nurture and educate young entrepreneurs about the mistakes they make. So if you don't give them honest feedback, I think you're a bad venture capitalist. You're not doing your job. The biggest mistakes people make, there's a lot of them. Most of them don't have a business proposition. They may say, oh, you know, I'm going to make, I got this idea to make these great T-shirts. Okay, well, is there a void in the market for T-shirts? Is there like something missing that nobody else makes pink T-shirts that only fit in one size too small? I mean, if there's a market that says we need it, then let's talk about it. Let's talk about how big that market is. Who's going to buy it? I mean, people have ideas, but they don't have a business model associated with them. They haven't thought about it. Now, sometimes, by the way, we've invested in things that have no business model. Okay? And a perfect example is Tumblr. Tumblr had no business model, but we all knew that it was an extraordinary business. And you get 40 million people using it. Facebook had 600 million people before they knew how they were going to make money from them. But that's different. They had a vision and a strategy. Most people don't really understand why the market needs this and wants this product. And that's really where it fails. The other thing is, I think, and it's okay, people aren't themselves. I have people come in and they read the slides, they read the presentation, and they come in with a suit and tie, by the way. You know, if I dress like this in most of the meetings I would go to, they throw me out. I got a letter from Microsoft. This was probably 95. I got a letter. It was sort of a joke, and it says, please do not wear your suit to our offices any longer. Because everybody felt they had to get dressed up when I came out. And I handled the Microsoft business myself because it was so important to us. So I'd fly out there once a month, and I'd have a suit and tie on. I got this letter. It was sort of a tongue-in-cheek. They were just sort of kidding because they all felt they had to get dressed up when I showed up. Come as yourself. Be yourself. Make a presentation. It's okay. It's not going to be perfect. Believe me. This wasn't. It's not going to be. But just make sure that you really have a business plan. And I'm not talking about 100 pages. This is why I'm doing this. The market needs it. There's a void. No one's delivering it. We have a solution. That's what people want. We'll keep working our way up.
Back in that novel few stages, I worked at the university and all of my students, and they had great ideas, they had great money that got their family in. I have searched before. I've never come up with good venture capitalists that didn't involve me flying to one of those cities that you named. How do we find venture capitalists like yourself in Buffalo? How do we get an audience?
They don't exist. And they don't exist because you go where, you know, it's like, was it the guy that robbed the banks? Willie Sutton, was it? Why do I rob banks? Because that's where the money is. I mean, you're not going to succeed in my business in Buffalo. It's just reality. Now, let's talk Buffalo. We're here. Last week, we took 6 companies from our incubator to New York, and I made 12 of my friends from different venture firms sit through presentations of all 6 of those companies. They didn't have a choice. They're friends. We do deals together. You know, guys, you're showing up. They showed up, and they actually enjoyed it. It was great. It worked out great. So that's what we're here to do. That's what Dan is here to do. We'll try to create. That's why we built this incubator. There are some other people in town. I mean, you know, but I would say in general, you can't find much of a venture market. There's little VCs everywhere. There's in Rochester, there's in Syracuse, there's in Albany, you go to Cleveland, and they're in Columbus and Cincinnati, and you hear from these guys, but you know, and there's money, and they'll help, and they'll be a help catalyst, but the real venture money is not here. It's in New York, it's in Boston, it's not even in Chicago, there's a couple, but not really. It's in Silicon Valley, and more in LA, and some in Austin. That's it. There's nothing in, I've been spending time in Miami. There's no VCs in Miami. Yeah, there's a guy, the family office kind of thing, but that's not VCs. You have to go to them. And I will tell you, Mike Moritz wouldn't invest in Buffalo. Okay, we found somebody else that would. His name was Fred Wilson. He's now one of the most famous VCs in the world, and he liked the business. He didn't care where we were. So we'll help you. That's why we're here. That's why we started Z80 Labs. Z80 Labs is not a for-profit business. I mean, we hope that it does well and sustains itself. We did it. Ron and I did it, and the guys that have joined us did it solely as a community function to try to create a place where these people can come, talk about their businesses. Now, we focus on internet-based technology because that's what we know. You know, but there's, in life sciences, there's plenty of VCs that come to UB and come to Buffalo. I don't know them because it's not my world. But they're there, and they will look at your business. And so what? You got to get on an airplane? Big deal. By the way, if it's a good VC, and you got a decent plan, he'll fly to you or she'll fly to you. I mostly go to my companies. I prefer to go see them. I think it's, you know, unless it sounds like absolutely a waste of my time, a fishing expedition, and because you called me and said, would you see these guys? I look at what it is. If they come to me, I'll see them. But if it's something that gets me at all interested, I'm on an airplane.
A lot about changing the way we think, promoting entrepreneurship. Here you're speaking to a lot of UB students and people affiliated with the university. How would you, promote or advocate changing the way we think for the average Buffalonian or Western New Yorker who aren't affiliated with the high-tech sector or education or the hospitals you mentioned? Like the guy who goes to Paul's Donuts, like at 9 a.m.
Right. Well, but I can't. I don't think that I can't do that. You know. What's going to happen in my mind is that that culture of the pizza parlor and the hairdresser, and we drive by and there's another one and we need one like a hole in our head, that's the mentality we have to change. That's going to change, not because I'm not going to change it. I'm set in my ways. I'm 57 years old. I try to change, but the truth of the matter is I don't. My parents, they're in their 80s. They ain't changing at all. If you met my mother, believe me, nothing's changing, right? But my kids will change. My kids are your peers. You guys have to be the ones that start the change. The Silicon Valley changed not because old guys did it, because young people did it. They changed it. New York City wasn't started. What's gone on in Silicon Valley and that whole city, which is just extraordinary, and I've watched it now since 1999, it wasn't because, you know, the CEO of Chase Manhattan Bank did it. It wasn't because the president of IBM did it. It was just young people starting businesses that didn't want to work for big companies. They wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to live that kind of culture. They wanted to go to work in flip-flops and shorts and enjoy what they do and love what they do, and they didn't want to deal with the suits and the corporate culture. So they said, I'm doing it. That's changed the psychology of that whole city. It's unbelievable. You watch the law firms don't wear suits and ties anymore. That didn't start with them. It started with you. So that's how we change it in Buffalo. That's why I'm here. I wouldn't have this conversation and go to the Rotary Club. I would, I'd much rather spend my time watching people rent cars at the airport than go talk to the Rotary Club about changing, right? I mean, seriously, I'm here because you guys can change. It's up to you. You stay here, I'm gonna make it happen. People start to see it and say, wow. And by the way, it's not just because we started a tech company or a life sciences company or a company that's focusing on the ecosystem or any of that stuff. Then it starts to move into the C-store, and it moves into the hot dog stand, and it moves into the hairdresser, and the list goes on. And people start thinking, I could be an entrepreneur. Us.
I have like a lot of ideas, but how do I get started? Where do I take these ideas?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I have the answer, because I certainly don't have the patience to listen to everybody's ideas. It's not so easy. I think, you know, I think the whole point of having a university where you have professors, you know, I would guess that if you had an idea and you didn't know how to do the marketing, that you would go to the marketing department at the university and find a professor or a graduate student and say, here's what I'm thinking about too, can you give me some advice? Don't be afraid to ask. But you're right, it's a problem. It's a problem for anybody, by the way. To what? Oh, you think people are going to steal your ideas? Well, I think people are a little too paranoid about their ideas being stolen. I would say that if I was Sergey Brin or somebody like that, I probably wouldn't be sharing my ideas so readily. But my guess is that you're probably not going to worry about getting your ideas stolen, but it does happen. And if you have the guy that you were the one that came up with the idea for Facebook, and this, you know, and you gave it to Zuckerberg and he stole it like he did from those two brothers, you know, in the meantime, you know, the one guy, Eduardo is living in Singapore and he's worth $3 billion and the brothers got $600 million, so I'm not crying so bad for them. But it's a risk. It's a risk worth taking, because if you don't, the long and the short is, if you don't know how to make the idea happen, it's irrelevant who steals it. You got to ask for advice because you don't know how to do it. It's a risk. We're going to have everybody sign an NDA. You probably don't even know how to get an NDA. But it's not worth anything anyways. Just take your risk. Go ahead, and you know what? If somebody screws you, you'll do the next deal, and it'll even be better.
I just want to mention there's some great competitions in this community. If not competition, startup weekend, all those are great start to finish programs.
They're all over the state, by the way. They're in other cities. You don't have to be here. We just sent one of our companies at TechCrunch Disrupt. They're down there in New York. And then there's TechStars. There's all kinds of stuff all over. You just got to go and find them, and we'll help you. Anybody else? I'll take one more question. All right, we need women. I'm doing two because I gotta balance things.
I'm sure you saw a lot of different successful communities of the entrepreneurs around the country and around the world. What ideas we can borrow from them, and what can we learn from their experience and implement here in Buffalo besides having incubators or having startup weekends? So what else we can do to help a community of the entrepreneurs grow here?
That's good. It's a very good question. There's a few things that need to happen. And it starts with something you guys can't do anything about, and that is that we need to have our leadership, our business leadership, become more engaged and willing to become angels. And that happens in a lot of places. I mean, Boston was the first place before Silicon Alley, and the Boston Angel was huge. And the people that were successful were investing and helping and starting businesses. That's not something you guys can do. I think that the rest of it is that we have to create a culture where it's okay to fail, okay? We have to create a change in mindset that we have these, what I went back to before, we have these communities, these micro-communities where, you know, you're with people that are like-minded, whether it's incubators or neighborhoods or libraries and schools or Starbucks. It doesn't really matter, right? We have to create places where we gather and we feed off each other. That's one of the things that will help a lot. There's no magic. You know, I mean, in New York, I look around and I see what's gone on, and, you know, like, the neighborhoods have sort of changed. Union Square, there's a couple places where you go in and, you know, I'll see every entrepreneur in town, right? You know, but they're now successful. They're not the ones that are trying to get there, right? Because they can't the unsuccessful ones can't afford to eat there. So, but I think it's all about creating momentum. That, to me, is the most important thing we have to do. We got to have a few wins. And as we start to have wins, people say, oh, that's the guy, you know, that's the guy that did this, and, you know, they did this, and they got it, you know, they just got a grant, they just got funded. You know, that's the big thing we hear about in most places, in big New York and Silicon Valley and stuff. They got funded. That's like, you know, I mean, a huge success. And once we have that, it'll build off. But I don't know that there's anything more magical than that. I wish I had a better answer for you.
I have been carrying my dream to pursue low temperature biology studies all the way since I was in high school from China, come to here to pursue my study. And I want to eventually bring up some breakthrough products to benefit this tiny, small industry or science. But now I realize I really need to start maybe my company to pursue my dream, since like in the science, this area is extremely small, so it's not very well funded. And I have been, from my research proposal, I received a small funding to get this started, but I realized it's really hard to get a venture capitalist to invest on this long-term research. You probably won't get any benefits or profit in 5 years, 10 years. So I wanted to know if you can give me a suggestion how to pitch those people to invest on this.
Well, okay, but I'm only going to answer the question because we talked a little bit before this. I'm only going to answer the question if you're committing to do this in Buffalo. Because as you told me, you're thinking about where you should start your business. If you're not doing it in Buffalo, you can get advice from somebody else. So you got to make a commitment. I need a blood swearing here. I need you to promise, okay? No, I'm kidding. It's the industry you're in is the toughest industry to fund. In the venture business, the life cycle of a fund is 10 years. And one of the problems with pharma, with life sciences, with a bunch of those things is the life cycle, and we're in the business of making money. Make no sense, no bones about it. This is not a social cause. This is what I do for a living. I do this to make a living. So it's a very difficult, that whole industry has had a very difficult time raising money. That's why there's so much government money. There are so many dollars available because the government understands it, that they provide, you know, there is NSA, DARPA, there's all kinds of places that provide grants and funds that will help you to get off the ground. And even when you're doing, you know, a pharmaceutical, I mean, you know, trying to create a pill that's going to cure the common cold, there's only 5 companies, I think, in the world that could do it because it costs billions of dollars to really bring it to market. So these companies get sold along the way because they can't keep doing it, but they make money each step. You may not get to the finish line. What you may do is get to a point with a few $1 million that you've gotten from grants and friends and angels and loans and everything else, and somebody buys it for a lot of money. Well, the average exit in the United States last year was $37 million. I mean, everything wasn't $1 billion, right? It was $37 million in this venture-backed world. You know, the average company had about $22 million in investment. So it wasn't like there was a huge win there. So you're in a space that's tough, and I don't know much about it, right? But I would tell you that there are people at the university that do know what it's about. We are very focused on it as a university. The reason that we have a great program that you came here, a long way to be a part of, tells us that it's important that we figure out how to keep you and help you build a business. And so I'm going to tell you, go to your professor, go visit the president, and go and he'll tell you, he'll hook you up with the right people, and you'll have to figure out how to get a lot of grants. That's what I can tell you. I've overstayed my welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for paying attention.